You've probably seen it, right? Baptism. It's one of those rituals you just know is Christian. But what if I told you that simple act with water has this incredibly deep story, a symbolism that goes back thousands of years? Yeah, so let's dive in and see what's really going on beneath the surface.
So that's the big question we're tackling. What does this whole thing with water really mean? Because, let's be real, it's way more than just getting wet. It's a powerful statement, and it's absolutely packed with history and meaning.
Okay, so a good place to start is the word itself. It kind of gives us a clue. Baptism. It comes from this Greek word vaptisma, and it literally just means to dip or to immerse. So at its heart, it's this rite of initiation. You can think of it as the doorway into the Christian faith. And yeah, water is pretty much always the key ingredient.
But here's where it gets interesting. How it's done, and what people think it actually does, while that can be really different depending on who you ask. This is definitely not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
I mean, the practice itself can look totally different. You've got some traditions, like Baptists and Orthodox churches, where they go for full immersion. The person goes all the way under the water. But then you have other groups, like Catholics and a lot of Protestants, who do what's called effusion or aspersion. That's just a fancy way of saying they pour or sprinkle water over the person's head.
And, the differences aren't just about how much water you use. It goes way deeper, right to the very meaning of the whole thing. For some churches, think Catholics, Orthodox, Lutherans, baptism is a sacrament. That means they see it as a way God gives grace, something that actually cleanses sin. But for others, like Baptists and many evangelicals, it's what they call an ordinance. It's more of an outward symbol, a public announcement of a change that's already happened on the inside. All right, so this table kind of sums it all up. You can see how these two big ideas, the how and the why, come together. So look at the Catholics. They usually pour the water, and for them, it's a sacrament, a moment where God's grace is really given. The Eastern Orthodox, they also see it as a sacrament, but they're all about triple immersion. Then you get to the Baptists. They're big on full immersion, but they see it as an ordinance, a powerful public symbol of a decision someone's already made.
But here's the really cool part. Even with all these different ways of doing it, and all these different beliefs about it, the deep symbolic story behind baptism, it always starts in the exact same place.
And that place is the Jordan River. Seriously, if you want to get what baptism is all about, you have to get why this river is so important. It's not just some random body of water they picked out of a hat.
See, the Jordan River had this really powerful double meaning. On one hand, in this super dry desert landscape, it was a source of life. You can just picture it, right? This green ribbon of life-giving water. But at the same time, it was also this huge barrier, the very last thing standing between the Israelites and the Promised Land. It was both life and a boundary. I mean, this river's resume is just incredible. You've got a Syrian general named Naaman who gets healed of leprosy just by washing in it. It's where the entire nation of Israel makes this epic entrance into their new home. You've got the prophet Elijah parting the waters right before he gets taken up to heaven. All this stuff happened there, layering the river with all this meaning, way before John the Baptist ever showed up on the scene.
Okay, let's zoom in on that first huge crossing, the one with all the Israelites. Because honestly, this one moment sets the stage for everything else. It's what really locks in the Jordan River's symbolism. All right, try to picture this. After 40 years of wandering in the desert, the Israelites finally get to the Jordan. But it's at flood stage. It's this raging, impassable river. And then the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which was like the symbol of God's presence with them, they just take this step of faith right into the water. And boom, the river just stops. The water piles up way upstream, and the entire nation, we're talking hundreds of thousands of people, walks across on totally dry ground. How amazing is that?
So this is the key takeaway, right? The Jordan became the ultimate symbol of a transition. It was the line in the sand between the old life of wandering and the new life of promise. Crossing it was this huge act of faith that meant a brand new beginning. It was proof that God could and would deliver his people.
Okay, so fast forward a few centuries. This powerful memory of crossing the Jordan is still there. It's deep in the culture. And then, when we get to the New Testament, we see this incredible pattern repeat itself. But this time, it's for a totally new kind of conquest. So first up, John the Baptist shows up on the scene, and get this, he dresses like the prophet Elijah, he preaches with that same kind of fire, and he's in the exact same spot, the wilderness by the Jordan. He's basically a new Elijah getting everything ready. And right on cue, Jesus arrives. So if John is the new Elijah, then Jesus is shown to be the new Joshua. And it's wild, their names even come from the same root.
Both Joshua and Jesus basically mean the Lord saves. So here he is, at the Jordan, ready to kick off his own mission, his own kind of conquest.
And this is where we see the huge difference. Joshua and Elisha, they crossed the Jordan on dry ground to start a physical conquest for a physical piece of land. But Jesus, he doesn't get a dry path. He goes down into the water. He's buried under it. Why? Because he's starting a spiritual conquest, a war against sin, death, and evil.
And then what happens when he comes back up? It's this incredible moment. The Spirit of God comes down, and a voice from heaven, the Father, declares who he is. This isn't just a bath. His crossing of the Jordan is his official commissioning. It's the starting pistol for his entire mission.
Okay, so what in the world does all this ancient history, all this deep symbolism about a river, have to do with someone getting baptized today? Well, it turns out, everything. It all comes together to create this incredibly powerful personal meaning.
Think about it. Pretty much everything the Jordan River ever stood for is packed into the single act of baptism. It's about a transition, a new beginning, just like it was for Israel. It's about purification and turning from your old ways, which is what John the Baptist was all about. It's a symbol of a divine anointing, just like Jesus got. It even points to healing, like with Naaman. And maybe most powerfully of all, it's about dying to an old way of life and rising up to a brand new one.
So for a believer today, getting baptized is like their own personal Jordan River crossing. It really is. It's that moment where you step out in faith, you leave the wilderness of your old life behind you, and you walk into the promise of a new life. It's a public sign that says, hey, something big has changed inside me.
And that really leaves us with one final big thought. If baptism is all about crossing over, a journey from one way of living to another, then the question it poses to every single person is this: what are you crossing over into? What's the new land? What's the new promise that it represents for you?